I'd ask how he'd be helping people, and he'd say however they needed it. I asked him how he loved them, and he said however they needed it.
In London to promote his new book, The Final Testament of the Holy Bible, James Fry is having to defend his inflammatory take on the second coming of the Messiah in modern-day New York. Because this Messiah euthanizes the dying, takes drugs, mixes with criminals and prostitutes, and has sex with both men and women, and lots of them.
Sometimes he'd take them in the bedroom, men and women, both, and he'd close the door, and I know he'd be doing things to them and loving them and making them feel better, same as he did to me. When I was writing the book, I thought to myself, if Messiah was here, what would that person be like? How would they live? And what would happen to them? A Messiah's goal is to sort of destroy the social structure and reset how society exists. So in order to do that, you would have to be a pretty radical, pretty revolutionary personality. You would have to see society as it is and believe that it was wrong.
But James Fry's take on the second coming of the Messiah has already generated anger amongst many practicing Christians.
It's completely over-ramped. He's puffing it up as the third section of the Bible. There's the Old Testament and New Testament of this book. It's nothing of the sort. It's an interesting novel if you like that sort of thing. I personally wouldn't buy it. And I'd recommend people, if they want to read it, go to the library so he doesn't get the satisfaction of getting money out of us and getting royalties.
And getting money out of books is becoming increasingly difficult. At the London Book Fair, one of the most important events for the international publishing industry, much of the talk is of how to prop up the struggling book trade.
This time last year, Philip Pullman's novel, The Good Man Jesus and the Scoundrel Christ, was at the centre of a religious controversy which looks set to be repeated later this month, when James Fry's novel and another one, John Niven's The Second Coming, are published within days of each other. But the title of Fry's novel could be interpreted as deliberately contentious, as could the invitation on the inside cover to be enraged. So has whipping up a storm amongst Christians at Easter become just another publicity tool for increasingly desperate publishers?
Author Philip Pullman has seen his sales rise following religious controversy, but he also believes his work has sometimes suffered from the attention, particularly in the United States.
In a country that takes religious questions with passionate and humourless intensity, such as the United States, it can have a detrimental effect. Of course it can.
And he defends James Fry's right to explore the nature of the Messiah.
The business of writing about someone who is holy and who mustn't be touched by anyone else, well, nuts to that. Jesus does not only belong to those who believe he was God, Jesus belongs to everyone, as I guess he would be the first to say.
But James Fry is adamant that he didn't write the book purely to stir up controversy.
If you go into something only wanting to create controversy, it's not going to be something that lasts. I'm much more interested in touching readers. I'm much more interested in having whoever picks up my book and read it be changed in some way, be profoundly moved and be challenged and be entertained.
But how readers respond to the book might depend on geography as much as religious belief. In the United States, the book no longer has a mainstream publisher. Here in the UK, it will be published, perhaps controversially, on Good Friday.
Matthew Kane reporting, and you can keep up to date on our website.